everybody. I'm Robin Knowles from Digital Leaders. We're very conscious we're coming between you and lunch, which is kind of dangerous territory. So our program today, I think we'll have some slides up in a moment.
2 years.
And some music. We're talking about living the digital council dream, which is a great title for a session. We've got two speakers, but before that, we're going to watch a film about digital transformation at Peterborough.
Yeah, we sat down and looked. 2 years ago, we sat down and looked at how the council operates and how we work. Doing things the way we've always done it really wasn't an option.
Peterborough is a unique city. We've got a history that dates back 3,500 years. It's a city of about 190,000 people and half of the world's nationalities represented here.
Peterborough historically isn't seen as a technology city, but we're the second fastest growing city in the UK. One of the key drivers for looking at Salesforce was obviously the need to understand our residents and our customers. So the first rollout of Salesforce was Service Cloud in the call centre. Basically, it's used to log every customer call that comes through. Being able to see how often people are calling and what they're calling about just gives you that real insight.
You now can self-serve on our website. And actually, if you do have to speak to somebody, they have fantastic technology that can get those services out very quickly and very effectively. So in fact, their needs are met right across the spectrum.
Previously, we've always worked on historic data. But the data that we can now pull out of Salesforce is live data. And what that then allows is for the performance team to actually do the real deep dive analysis and then come up with ways to improve service delivery.
You're capturing the moment as it happens in a way that you've never been able to before. For example, if you're going out and you're seeing a situation, you can capture that immediately into a system that's translated back to the office, and good decisions are made on data that is relevant and also contemporaneous.
Digital City Peterborough project was realised by the council to grow the tech sector within the city. We built a fibre network. We've also invested in a future business centre to tap into the startup community and give them an area where they can develop.
Digital City is going to put us out there as a city that's exciting, that embraces change and can really deliver great economic growth.
A large part of the council's transformation is around how do we interact better with the community. So by using community clouds, you can open up conversations.
Littering, potholes, problems with graffiti, all those things can be dealt with one contact with the council, and then we get into action and we solve those problems.
The next product we're looking at rolling out is going to be the marketing cloud, listening to conversations on social media and actually spotting where issues are arising before they happen. We'll then be looking at Chatter, reduce the number of emails across the estate, and then also the analytics cloud, and really drive change to the next level.
The people that I've worked with in Salesforce are passionate, they are ambitious, but they're not ambitious for themselves, they're ambitious for us.
The biggest thing for me about Salesforce is you're working with a company that's innovative, will give you new tools, make your life simpler. That allows us then to focus on delivering services.
And what I hope to see is a fully integrated city with all of our partners working together, understanding each other, and Salesforce being at the heart of that.
Hello, I think it's fair to say we're not Peterborough, we're certainly not Estonia. To give you some idea of where we are, we're sandwiched in between these lovely bright lights of London and the Badlands of Brighton, and just near to the digital local government rock stars of Ada and Worthing. So that's where we uncomfortably sit, if you like. Got about 1,500 residents. We've got all the same challenges that we've heard about this morning. So we've got changing expectations of people, our citizens, not just our citizens, but also our staff. We have legacy systems that earlier someone said that were built for the council. I think ours are probably built for the vendors. We have duplicated capabilities. So we have lots of systems that do case logging, lots of systems that do payments. Brilliant if you like variety, nightmare if you want integration and you want to not pay loads of money. And we've got a skills gap within our workforce. So that's probably, you probably could have just come here rather than this morning, because that's a summary of everything that people talked about. So some of the big issues that we have is what are we going to do now? We're starting the journey that a lot of people have already talked about that they're on, or have got sophisticated things on lampposts and those sorts of things. We've got 50% of our area in an area of outstanding natural beauty or a national park where you won't get a phone signal. That's mid-Sussex. I'm painting a lovely picture, aren't I? But that's where we are. And so the challenge that the council has is where do we start? What do we do? And what we decided to do was we had, as most people have, a pressing issue to solve, and that was that a main contract for our CRM, which wasn't integrated, didn't do end-to-end stuff, basically just was painful in terms of logging things, was coming to an end. So we had to start with that, and we also had to really think about, is this something we can do alone, or is it something that we need to work with others on over the longer term? So that's exactly what happened. That's the start of our journey. We worked with Arcus. We went through an amazingly painless procurement process. I'm sick of people shaking their heads going, that's surely not possible. But we did. We used the digital marketplace. And then we worked with Arcus on understanding our current processes, our current business processes, upskilling some of our people within that. And then they introduced our CRM, Salesforce, and worked with our teams in Waste to introduce some functionality there. And the reason we did that is we are not going to be a software house. We are not going to have the best designers, the best UX people. That's simply not who we're going to be. We're not big enough to do that. We wouldn't want to do that. That's not where our expertise lies. Where our expertise lies is in working with the public. We have a community leadership role, and we have people who are highly professional who have basically been doing very administrative tasks, and that's a waste of their skills and experience. So one of the things we wanted to do is partner with someone who can work with us to change that. And our journey is at the very start. So we are looking at things like digital access and improving that. That's really important for the 50% of our population that are stuck on a train between mid-Sussex and London, which is probably some of you. But equally, we're also looking at how can we make the experience for all the other people that don't get internet connections that want to ring us up, how do we make that a painless experience, and actually something that in the future we can use to look at the services they might want and that we can possibly either sell to them on our behalf or others. So it's a very different place that we're in terms of starting that journey.
Okay, so our 5-year journey started off looking at going infrastructure free. So we've had a big initiative to move all of our physical environment into the cloud. We're kind of getting to the end of that. So our next step really is where to go now. We've got the same drivers that everybody else has got. So big pressure on cost down, big expectation from our customers in terms of delivering more and more 24/7. So our traditional model of having phones where people ring in 9 to 5 Monday to Friday doesn't really stack up. So we've launched a big channel shift campaign, which is looking at how to get the best value from that. So actually how to move people off the traditional channels, off the coming into the offices to talk to us, onto the phones, onto web chat, or even actually where we want to get, which is where we are now, for certain elements onto self-serve and doing it themselves. So we talked that through in terms of what that entailed and launched a project about 18 months ago. We went live with a new website in August last year based on a Drupal open source platform with a partner. And that had a big step change for us. So we made sure that all of the information that people needed was there. They could find it. We removed the telephone numbers. We provided different ways of people getting in touch with us. So we did lots of online forms. So that was the kind of first step. The next step, which we've been doing with Salesforce and Arcus, is to do the kind of intelligent bit behind the scenes. So to actually provide access to people to their real-time information. So we launched in November with a digital services hub, My Account functionality. The previous solution that we'd had been in place for about 3 years before that, and we got up to about 5,000 accounts in 3 years. So we launched in November, we're now in April. We've got 15,500 accounts on there. We've got 10,000 people who have actually connected their council tax records, look at their information themselves and pay online. We've got 25,000 contacts. Our calls have gone down by 25%. We're using web chat to try and multi-channel, allow operators to deal with multiple questions at the same time and point people back to the website. So what we're trying to do is, rather than necessarily help people and then help them again in the future, actually point them to the information so they can do it whenever they want to do it themselves. So we're, on the back of that, we're also looking to restructure our organisation so that we're focused around customers. So it's very much about the customer experience. Historically, if somebody rings into the council, they would ring one department to do one thing, and then somebody else, and then somebody else. They don't have to do that anymore. They can do that through a single channel. So we've actually restructured the whole council to not have those stovepipe departments, and then we're using Salesforce to put a front end on that so that the systems have an integrated front end as well.
Brilliant. Maryvonne, before you go and sit down.
Yes.
So while you're thinking of your questions and we're getting our microphone person fired up, the obvious question I want to ask as chair is, what advice are you going to give 5 years into your programme to Simon, who's sort of coming up to a year into his? So what wisdom can you pass down?
Okay. I think for me, it's all about the people. So you can know where you're going, and you can have great systems, and you can work it all out, but you have to take the people on the journey. Otherwise, people don't move with you. So that's been quite a challenge. It's an ongoing challenge. We're completely changing our competencies and our job roles within the organisation to have job families to help people with that. So actually encouraging people to stop giving people the help for what they have been doing historically and actually point them to a website is actually very difficult for people to do. So they have to understand why they're doing it. And also they have to understand that it doesn't mean they're not going to have a job. It means actually they won't be doing the same job, but they'll be doing something else, which will be about growing another part of the council. So we're very much about growth. We're not about making things smaller. It's about actually giving other opportunities to customers. So it is about taking the staff and the customers, real customers, with you as well.
Okay, over to you. Do you have, we appreciate we're between you and your lunch, but I do have questions of my own if you don't. So let's hear questions. I would say that you guys are the innovators. I spend an awful lot of time going to central government departments, and they tell me about brilliant pilots they're running and great stuff they're doing. And do I think, or can digital leaders help them tell all the people out in the regions about this brilliant project? And I must admit, I always sit there thinking, there's so much cool stuff going off in local government in this digital transformation space that in a way they don't need to be told about great innovations. So any questions from the audience? Otherwise I will continue. Furthest person from the man with the microphone. Well done. Down here at the front.
Hi, Dylan Roberts from Leeds. In terms of clearly automating services, making them more efficient and all of that type of thing, have Salesforce, now that they've been into lots of different organisations, have they got a set of best practice processes? Because I'm just very conscious of the fact on all the presentations today, from Squares, etc., it's all about doing it again and again and again in different places. I mean, is there a set of best practice processes for waste collection, for instance, or are we inventing it again and again and again?
Yeah, great question.
Yeah, well, we've both worked with Argus Global, who are working with us on the waste work, and absolutely what they've done is they've helped share their expertise about what they understand works elsewhere. Yeah. They've also been involved in the open waste standards, so that's really helpful for us because that helps future-proof what we're doing and makes the any future changes in software or applications much easier. So the answer to that is yes. The advantage with Salesforce is that I'm sure a lot of other vendors will talk about this as well, but it has a lot of flexibility. So the bits that the teams that I've got access to can do are things like plug that into MailChimp, so we can do some fairly quick work in terms of informing people, which is something we found out we had to do on Monday because of a certain service issue. Let's just leave it at that. And the team were able to pick that up because it's low code, people could understand how to do it, and we did it effectively in a way that we never would have been able to do, and it's probably saved us about 35 grand just doing it that way.
Yeah, I think for me it's about building on the different bits as well. So Simon's described the kind of back-end processing. So what we're very much focused on is the front-end processing. So if we take the waste example, what we want to allow is the customer to be able to see their information real time. So we've got in-cab technology that's going around. So if a bin's contaminated, the driver will mark it's contaminated with whatever it is. The customer will then be able to see. So if they go on to report that the bin's not being picked up, they'll actually be able to see that it's been contaminated and what's it been contaminated with, which actually means that they won't bring in and they'll clear the contamination so it can be picked up. So actually we'll be building the front end that will fit on the bit that's already there, which then can be used again. So that's the work we're doing with Arcus at the moment.
Brilliant. One of the big motivators, by the way, I know Nadira's at the back and therefore I'm a big supporter of women in technology. So I know she's hoping for a woman in technology to ask the next question. But while we're waiting for that, what about cost savings? So digital transformation is just a really smart thing to do, but we kind of know the drive behind it is like 25%, 30% budget cut. So I guess 5 years in, are you saving money, and how challenging is your target, Simon? Is that what's driving you? So maybe Maryvonne first.
So, I mean, yes, in terms of time to do the processes we were doing, the time has reduced. We have got less staff who need to answer the phones and do the things they were doing before. I think that's still an ongoing thing. We need to look at other processes internally and what we do with those. So yes, I think we can point to those savings.
And can you put a percentage on it rather than a flat figure?
I mean, in terms of the phone calls, as I mentioned earlier, so we've got a 25% reduction in phone calls. They're very expensive. The other thing that we've done is we had a customer services centre in the middle of town, so we've actually closed that completely, and we've got a small one in our offices which are actually out of town. So that's a physical cost saving as well.
Brilliant. And Simon?
Yeah, we're in quite an unusual position in that we're one of the few councils that doesn't rely on revenue support grant, or won't be probably next year or the year after. In fact, we'll be paying government for the privilege. But that doesn't mean that we don't have a savings. We're really focusing more on efficiency. And I guess a good example of that would be if we can use digital technologies and approaches to free up our professional staff who, they've trained for years to have a certain expertise. And if we can free them up from administrative tasks, then they can actually use that expertise for the benefit of our local residents. A good example of that was referred to earlier. Because we've had, we will have much better and richer data from Salesforce about waste, we can have our waste professionals focusing on how can we increase recycling rather than, how do we manage these missed bin issues. So we can then begin to target more effectively different people in the population and identify the things that influence them. So that's our goal, is actually leveraging the data we have with the digital technology we've got, much like any other company would.
Brilliant. Time for one more question from the floor. Oh, lady at the front. Thank you.
Steph Goad from Medway Council. I feel your pain, Simon, hello, in terms of the legacy systems issue. And I'm kind of thinking ahead to infrastructure free, Salesforce as a platform. That feels like an unimaginable journey, never mind the destination. So what are some of the key milestones we should bear in mind?
Okay. So you can't do it all in one go. Once you know where you want to go, you can start hiding some of the complexity. So what we've done, for example, is put Salesforce in to provide a single customer record. So we still have the legacy systems. They're sitting behind it. We can't get rid of everything in one go. We have introduced a change redress process. So historically what would have happened is the customer would have had to tell each of our individual departments their change redress. What they do now is they change it once at the front, and that automatically is updated at the back end. Now, some of that will be automatically in the system, some of that will be a manual update, but we're using the Salesforce as the golden record. So we're saying this is the master and it drives everything else, because otherwise what happens is people go and change the other bits on the back end systems. By doing that, it means it's easier then to start unpicking the bits at the back, which is very much how we're trying to do it.
Simon, anything to add?
Not really, because we're probably behind where you are, Steph. But, other than, although we have an overall strategy, it's what I guess most people would call agile. So we're looking at opportunities to move from legacy systems, and what we're trying to do is make sure that any decisions we make at the moment are made through certain principles like, is it cloud first? Those sorts of things. And low code is another thing where we're able to change some of the things. And also what we've tried to do, we've also worked on the some of the local government digital standards, if you like. So to look at, can we adopt those in our procurement, and can we actually partner with people so that we're not just paying a vendor to do loads forever. There's actually things that we can do to be more flexible and responsive to citizens. So that's the way we're going. A lot easier for us. We don't run social care, we don't run education, so it's a lot easier in terms of some of the data issues, but that's what we're trying to do. And I guess the other key thing for us is we're going, we're pragmatically going through our data to know that, so that we can know where the golden record lies for certain things, so the gazetteer or whatever it is, and then with modern technologies able to plug those in to each other, and that's the real advantage. So in some senses, us being so far behind means that we can leapfrog, and that's really helpful.
Brilliant. Okay, so thank you to Arcus Global and Salesforce for this session. I'm sorry it's been short, but not sorry given it's lunch, if you see what I mean. Richard Godfrey, who was in the film, Simon, Maryvonne, and myself were around over lunch. So if you had pressing questions or want to talk to them privately, do jump up and do that. And can I just ask you to finish by thanking our panelists in the traditional way?